webinar in a sort of Make Events sort of week-long takeover. Let's pivot. And I'll give Holly the opportunity a little bit later on probably to talk you through what else you've got planned this week, if that's all right, Holly. So if anyone's interested in joining in any of that, they can get involved. So I'm Sam Booth. I'm the Chief Executive of Pro Manchester. We're the largest business development organisation in the whole of the sort of Greater Manchester. I was honoured when Holly asked me if I would participate in this interview today. So Holly and I have known each other a long time. We used to live in the same apartment block in Spectrum Apartments in the city centre, and our paths crossed one day when we were both kind of heading out to take part in the Manchester 10K, dressed head to toe in Lycra, and we immediately bonded. We're both Aquarians, both have a love of running, and that was it from that moment onwards. Basically, we've kind of stuck together, we've run together, spent a lot of time together, and our careers have developed together as well. So back then I was a program manager at Pro Manchester, and Hol, you had your own business, which was your wedding planning business.
Oh gosh, yes, that was.
So I want to come over to you in a bit. I want you to maybe start there, and you can talk about that journey and into the very fabulous Make Events brand that's doing incredibly well. Obviously, what we're really here to talk about today is the sort of the COVID situation and what's really happened over the past sort of 3 or 4 months, and especially what that's done specifically to my industry and to your industry, to the events industry, with us not being able to do our usual events. Hol, I think I lost you again.
I know. Just to explain to everyone, we keep having momentary freezes, which I think is my internet, which is normally really good. So don't panic if I freeze. Sam will just keep talking and I seem to just come back in.
I'm a good gap filler. I can talk rubbish for a long time, so I'm sure I can manage. It's going to be fine. Anyway, just one last time, I'm just going to reiterate this point, because just in case anyone's joined afterwards, please do participate in the conversation today using the chat function. Post your questions in there, and either Holly or I will answer them depending on where you direct them. But we definitely want you to be involved. Right then, Hol. I've already gone back to sort of 2011 when I first met you, and your days of bride and bows. So perhaps we can start there, and maybe that for the people that don't know you, just give a little summary of who you are and where you've been and where you're going and all that type of stuff.
Holly Moore, from Macclesfield originally, moved to Manchester, lived in Macclesfield for 32 years until I moved to Manchester. My life has changed forever. So I was working as head of events, employee engagement at AstraZeneca. I also had a side hustle called Brides and Bows, and at the weekends I used to go and tie chiffon bows on chairs at weddings and set up sweetie tables. So I've always had like that entrepreneurial thing in me. And then obviously I left AstraZeneca to go freelance for a year, and in that kind of discovered and thought about where there was a niche in the market and where I could add value in the events market. And I felt there was 2 things. One was work hard, be nice. I think female event organisers or business owners in Manchester had a bit of a bad rep, and I just felt like that I could bring that, what if I could work hard, be nice, and create a successful business. And the second was that I looked at a lot of events at the time, more in like the luxury market, but I would look at them and think, oh, I know who's done that, that's amazing. But I wanted our events, you'd look at them and go, oh, that's a Manchester event, or that's a Puma event. You would look at it and think, that's a Make Events event, if you like. So, so we set up in 2012, like literally 8 years ago next week.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. And you've done amazingly well, haven't you? I've even got to participate in some of your wonderful events as well. I remember not that long ago, I can't remember what year it was, you'll have to remind me, when Holly dragged me in as under the guise of, can you just come and help give me some event support? But the reality being was that she was organising an event with Gary Barlow, and she just wanted me to be there and be part of it. So that was just incredibly amazing. So you've done some amazing events over that time, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I was saying to someone today, before I actually started Make Events, the biggest celebrity I'd worked with was Steve McDonald from Coronation Street. And then like fast forward 8 years, we've worked with, like, I know I always quote Kylie Minogue, but like literally my favourite music artist ever. And so in the early days when we were a bit smaller, I used to rope in friends to work on site, but I'd pick friends that I knew if we had a celebrity would absolutely love the experience. I could never tell them till they got there. And with you, I think we had a few of my friends worked on it, like as runners, we had Gary Barlow, and then Amanda Hargreaves, who some of you all know from the Manchester Clay Network. She was like obsessed with Kylie, and so when we did Kylie, I got her on site, and the guys that I just needed a bit of help to want to win a bit of cash. She did jet like breadwinning work, as you did, Sam. Yeah, and so that was really nice. It was such a really nice thing to be able to do for people in the beginning. It was lovely. Can't really do that now.
Well, this is it. So we've talked about the glory days, which were then, but obviously things are very, very different now, and have been for some time. So perhaps you just want to sort of talk to us a little bit about that and the initial impact for you.
Yeah, so we were kind of due to do about 4.5 million turnover this year, and we had about 2.8 confirmed. And our financial year starts 1st of April, sod's law. And to tell you that 95% of that revenue has dropped out of the business. So, I mean, you know, it was tens of thousands of pounds to run this business with the team and everything as it was at the start of the year. So I started off quite gung-ho. I've always been really good with cash flow. So I've always saved the profits in the business. You know, I've never gone, oh, I'll pull it out and have that big 5-bedroom house or anything like that. My passion's always been about having, I've kind of always been a safety net for me. Like if the money's in the bank, I'll feel safe. And I've had, and some people will say I'm risk averse because there were loads of opportunities. I mean, I have reinvested obviously in the offices and technology and stuff like that, but I could have reinvested further. I could have grown the team more. We could have brought down, we could have, you know, grown our unit, all these things like that, but I didn't. I always felt like I wanted this big burn rate in the bank. So when we kind of kicked off with this, which was a surprise to everyone, I think even the week before, everyone's still going, what? We're not, you know, what's going on? Can we not hug people? I was a bit gung-ho thinking, oh, I'll be fine. I've done so well putting the money away. 3 months, I can keep all the 18 staff on. It'll be brilliant. You know, we'll prove how like solid we are. And then as like, we spent time with the accountants and stuff like that, they were like, no, this is like, we need to predict for 12 months no revenue here in the live event space, because obviously our business is built on you know, mass gatherings of you know, 200 people plus shoulder to shoulder, which we don't know when that's going to come back. So from being very gung-ho thinking, oh, it's fine, I can look after everybody, it suddenly became apparent that no, this money has got to stretch as far as possible. And not only that, we don't want to re-engage, you know, start doing live events again with no money in the bank, because at the end of the day, we'll take bookings. So let's say we take an inquiry in December 2020, it might be happening until June, but I've still got to have a workforce to deliver that pre-event production side of things. So yeah, so it all kind of unraveled, and it was like mid-April, took a few of the team out that I felt, you know, obviously their job role wasn't going to exist at this particular time, and then we got to May, and my non-exec FD said, Holly, I think we need to fill everyone out the side of the business but you, because we're just, and he's very, very positive, and he thought I would be negative, but he was like, you have to preserve the cash. We didn't get any grants. We're still trying to get grants. Our offices, landlords have given us nothing. They gave us an £11,000 discount that we need to pay back this month, so we've had nothing off our offices. And we did get 12 months off our rates, but in the grant, it's amazing that the grant is not a massive amount when you're running a business. So we've literally had no help whatsoever. I'm going through discretionary grants at the moment because events have slipped through the net in terms of hospitality and leisure. So where there's a lot in the news at the moment about the music industry, you know, we are in the same boat essentially. So yes, I'm trying to, so May, it was like, we need to fill out everyone but you, and I was like, I can't do it, like, because at the end of the day, and I think this is what we're going to touch on, at some level you've got to protect your own mental health and your own happiness. So for me to sit in this business on my own trying to save it, no thank you, I don't want to do it. I need people around me. So made the decision to keep on one of my event producers that I knew could multitask really into a lot of different roles and help me out along a lot of different disciplines. And so it was just to be here with me. And then at the weekend I was due to bring everybody and tell everybody, I thought, oh my God, like I read a book, and it's a great book years ago called Grant Cardone, The 10X Factor. And this sentence, I remember being on the treadmill and they sent it to an audio book in my head, and it was, in times of recession,
Oh, can I just stop? You don't want to interrupt you. When you talk straight on, we can hear you better.
Yeah.
If you turn your head, that's when the sound goes off a little bit.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
That's perfect. Yeah.
So yeah, I read a book or listened to a book called The 10X Factor by Grant Cardone, and he said that in times of recession, go harder, because it's the people that go harder that will survive, and it's the people that pull back that won't. And I had a lot of people to say, stop your marketing, just lie low for a bit. So I thought about it over that weekend, and I thought right, I do my own social media, but I shoot from the hip. It's whatever. Oh, I've woken up at 5 in the morning, I'll post something. Oh, I've baked something, I'll post it. But Lucy has always managed our e-newsletters, social. And I just said to my FD, like, if that's what's making me anxious, because I know that I have to do that to keep us going. And he said, I think you make a decision. If your mental health means, and I don't mean that in like I was depressed or anything like that, but just to navigate this business through this, he said, if you feel you need that function in the business, then I think you should keep it. So we essentially went from a team of 18 to a team of 3, including me. I know, Sam, I sent you a bit of my diary entries just to position how I felt, but it literally felt like I was playing chess with people's lives. Like, we haven't been totally transparent. We haven't topped up the furlough. We can't afford to do that. Everybody in the business, including me, including freelancers, took a 20% pay cut. And because this money that's in the bank, it has to stretch as long as possible. So that's where we were in May, and it was pretty dark, pretty dark times, to be honest.
I do want to come back to that mental health piece, as you know, because we've talked about this before, but out of all of those things, furloughing the team, having to sort of just deal with just the mammoth-ness of this crisis, like, what would you say was the biggest challenge for you?
I think I'm trying to think, like, probably like April, was that I felt like I needed to be on the phone to customers to touch base and see how they were, but yet I needed to sort the finances out, because I had to cut the overheads by 6. We went down to 33% overhead to what we were. But that was a mammoth task, because that's every single supplier seeing what they could do for you. The government, and don't forget, all these people you're trying to contact are not just dealing with me; they're dealing with hundreds of other businesses. So that's that side of the brain, trying to do that. And you think, oh my God, what's the cost? Should we phoning Auto Trader, and should I be phoning Cuban? What should I be doing? And then we need to look after the team. And also, we've always wanted time, and now we've got time, and what should we do with it? And it was just all encompassing, to the point that
overwhelming.
Yeah, and I was working super hard, but didn't feel I was like, oh, I'm not actually getting, everything was taking ages. I had the pivot marketing strategy sat on my laptop for 4 weeks, and Emily, my producer, said to me, oh, I'm really worried we don't have a sales strategy. And it was there on my computer, and I couldn't move with it. So that was really hard. But then I started to soul search, which I'm quite good at doing, into why am I not moving quick enough? What is stopping me moving quick enough? I feel stuck in treacle. If I really wanted this, I'd be fighting for this harder, and I'm not. Which sounds like I wasn't doing everything I was, but my mental capacity and that want to get through wasn't there, and I had to spend some time to figure that out, which I know we'll talk about. But
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, and you've always been very open about some of the struggles you've had from a mental health perspective, and having those just in well, I call them normal circumstances. I'm not really sure what's normal, but certainly like being thrown into this kind of chasm of just chaos, really, it exaggerates and exasperates all of those feelings, really.
Yeah.
So, do you want to maybe sort of touch? I mean, and I also know your personal circumstance, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but I know you've been on your own for an incredible amount of time of this as well, which I think, I've talked to everybody, and I don't think any situation is better. Whether you've got a full family at home and you're having to do the homeschooling with your kids and everything, or whether you're completely on your own and you've spent that time completely isolated. I think all of these things are equally difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just talk about sort of yours specifically, like I say, with regards to your experience with sort of mental health challenges previously.
Yeah, so, and we talked about it earlier, didn't we, Sam? So, I've made no secret, had OCD for 5 years, been OCD free for 10. Well, when I just met you, Sam. And so I'm very, very clear on what is a mental health and illness versus extreme emotion over a situation. So what I've experienced in the last 3 months is extreme emotions in an extreme situation. So yeah, I wouldn't say that no OCD's come back. I spoke to, because I still would see the priory in like stressful situations that happened in my life since being well. And I spoke to my Costas, he's called, right at the beginning, and he said, as everyone knows, this is going to have a massive effect on mental health throughout the world. But those that have had challenges with mental health are going to be more prone to it. But I will thank God that none of that's come back. So I'm very, very grateful for that. But what I didn't bet on was how hard I'd find solo isolation, because I am really independent. I like being on my own. I struggle to get time on my own, to be honest, in normal day-to-day life. I'm so busy with work and friends and things like that. And I've always wanted to do all these things. So, I didn't think I'd struggle, and I did. And I can't say, for anyone, I know there's a few people on here that also were solo, I can't say I was lonely. I wasn't missing anyone. I wasn't missing friends. I wasn't family. I hung up. I really wasn't. My family don't live near me. So I wasn't lonely. I just felt like there was I felt like I couldn't lean on anyone. And that was my problem. Like exactly what you say. How can I tell my friends that I'm feeling so overwhelmed and anxious because they're homeschooling their kids? I don't want to worry my mum. My sister's in America. I don't have a business partner. I don't have a partner. So the days were just dark. I don't really remember this city weather, to be honest, but just some those dark days in the house. And yeah, just feeling like everything blurred into one. And I just realised now I'm back in the office and I've got people around me, how much I didn't value really how much having that team around me meant, because I'm so used to it. I've had it for 8 years. But actually now I just absolutely value that they make me the best I can be. Like, yeah, that's all I can. And that was obviously like just not having that, that person or anyone, being totally honest, Sam, no one at home, not a person at home to bounce off and go, watch this, even make you laugh at the end of it,
Yeah.
Keep your friends, and that's great. Just no one to change up the day, which in normal circumstances it's fine, but in lockdown I found it really hard. And being totally honest.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And from a physicality point of view as well, I mean, there's no distinction between your home and your workplace anymore. And that's really hard. And there's this impulsion as well, which, I think it's quite important to try and stress within your teams, that, everyone can log on at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you don't have to log off until 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. And because there's no, you're not commuting to and from work. And so actually people are ending up working longer hours, cramming more into their day. Calls are quicker. So you're flying through these calls. And actually all of this is just adding to those stress levels. So it's dead important. And it's dead important. I know they all talked about the go and have your hours for exercise and all of that type of stuff, but it's not enough to relieve all of the rest of it. And you do need to be, have your different places. I can't wait to get back to the office and get back to the team. Get them in the office. I don't want to do it too soon. I want to do it when it's safe to be able to do that. So, at the moment, it's if you can stay at home, you stay at home, and, adhering to all of that. But at the same time, I miss kind of us all being in the office and having that camaraderie and, and that motivating me. Because actually just being at home all of the time, sometimes it's a bit harder to get yourself quite so motivated as perhaps you would be if you've got other people to sort of bounce off. Certainly, other people, and by other people I mean people who are in the same industry working with you and have got ideas to take forward for the business. Do you know what I mean? So I totally do understand that. What do you think, and I do want to move on to the future and the let's pivot bit, surely. So last thing I want to ask you, so we'll talk about what's the biggest thing that you think you've learned about yourself over this past couple of months?
So I think, a couple of things that would be interesting to do. I think everyone had vices in lockdown. So the one thing that I've been really good at is training. So gym. So thank God I'd built like a little mini gym and managed to get weights at Decathlon before lockdown. So that has been my absolute go-to. And I've done FaceTime with my PT and then done Barry's online, and that's been like Like that is my level. That's the one bit of like routine that I've had. Which so even when I've been tired or weepy or whatever, Alison, got to give her a plug, Alison Jane Werrell, she's on Instagram. She would message me and say, "Come on, you're going to feel better. Even if you do a crap job, like you'll feel better." So that's been really good. I've realised I do quite a bit of. I mean, I know I'm super healthy, and the team laugh at me, and they'll be like, "Oh, you're emotionally eating like a grenade bar." But I have noticed that evening, and I think that again, and I'm being candid and honest because I believe that's what I believe I should be. But being on your own, it's like I didn't have a hug for 3 months, so it sounds like a complete martyr. But I'm a very like, huggy person. So that would be like chocolate, and then drink. And as you know, so 2 years ago, I gave up alcohol for 5 months when I was going through a difficult time. Not that alcohol's a problem, but I just felt like I needed to go through that time with no alcohol, and made a rule 2.5 years ago that I wouldn't drink at home on my own. I've not done that for 2.5 years until lockdown hit, because obviously you start off with Zoom drinking and that feels okay because you're interacting with people, and then it was like, oh, I'm upset tonight, have a glass of wine. So I went from never drinking at home to probably 3 times a week, and probably like one of those times getting like smashed. And again, just being honest. And then when I spoke, I couldn't understand why my mood was continually quite low, and I was just blaming it on what was going on out there, which obviously it had a massive impact on. But then about 6 weeks ago, I just said to Costas Paris that I just am a bit worried that I'm developing. Oh, please, I sound like an alcoholic. Like, it wasn't that, but going from never drinking at home to on a Wednesday having a good few glasses of wine, that's not really me. So I just said to him, I'm just worried. I don't want to be developing bad habits in lockdown that are gonna remain with me when we're out of it. And he explained, everybody else that's quite a lot of wine or whatever in lockdown, that you've got you have the alcohol, and then it affects your serotonin level, then it affects your mood, and then it affects your self-esteem. And the reason it affects your self-esteem is because if you're someone like me, you beat yourself up the next day. Why did you drink? I'm so stupid, I've got no willpower, oh my god. And then I ate pizza and loads of chocolate, and you hate on yourself. Well, I do anyway. And because that's negative self-talk, that's affecting your self-esteem. And then I'm trying to be positive and steer a business. So he then advised, like, well, why don't you just cut it like to 1 night a week and then limit it to that? And then off my own back, I thought I'm going to do a month no alcohol to finish this Friday. And actually, I proved to myself that I haven't created a bad habit. I could switch out of it, but that's built my self-esteem, because I'm like, oh, well, I've done that in lockdown, not had a drink in lockdown for 4 weeks in a difficult time. So that's like built up my confidence as a person. So I just wanted to mention that, because I know everybody has, had something that's been their thing, in lockdown that they've probably relied on more than normal.
Yeah, no, and I think alcohol for a lot of people, I mean, there's always memes on Facebook or Instagram about the fact that we're all probably drinking more than we were, or we've picked up some bad habits that we didn't have before. But I mean, and again, and I think a lot of it comes down to that, having that distinction between work and home as well, isn't it? It's almost like, for me, I'll admit, like sometimes having a glass of wine is kind of like the end of my day.
Changes the mood of your day, doesn't it? Yeah, exactly. Changes the mood of your day.
Yeah, no, absolutely, definitely. Now, questions coming for you, Hol.
Oh.
So we're not back in the office until at least January 2021. Apart from Zoom calls, do you have any tips on helping those working from home who are feeling the effects of not being around others?
So I've really found the value. So there's 2 things there. I need to remember to say both things. So I've really found the value in connecting with people outside of work as well, in terms of so this talk on Wednesday we're doing is about the 5 a.m. club. So me and 2 other girls set up like a virtual club. So we do most things on WhatsApp really, but that was like something different to work, and I could talk about work with. I think that now we're allowed out and about, so make it so. Things that I've been doing is I would always, so I've got friends that maybe don't live near me, but I'd always think, oh, I can't go and see such and such because I need to make a weekend of it, I need to stay over. Whereas now I'm like, well, just drive down for the day, well, not on a Saturday or a Sunday. But in terms of work, I don't know with this person, it might be good to ask them after, like, if your work will let you have socially distant meetings with clients or your team, and you can build that into your day, so you could potentially you know, go into when we're allowed with everything, if it's a nice day, go and meet a team member in Manchester and have lunch outside, or, you know, things like that, I think would massively help, because we've got a lot of clients at the moment that want to come to the office for a meeting with us because their office isn't open. So I think trying to look at what you could do over above Zoom, you know, does that make sense? Like, if I don't know, you know, the offices above.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's very, very difficult, isn't it? Because everybody feels very differently about how they feel about being in other people's company at the moment, because messaging is so very confused. And you've got some people who are more than happy, they just want to go out and they want to have a social distanced walk or whatever they might want to do. But some people are still really, really cautious.
Nervous,
and, terrified of that. And I think certainly my friends who've been completely isolated for this time, that I've managed to persuade them to come out and have a socially distanced walk with me, but because they've been on their own for such a long time, they've become almost agoraphobic. You know, it's a real fear factor of going back out again, because you've learned behaviour to be completely on your own. I suppose the only other thing that I would say that, you know, would help me would be to, you know, I've kind of thrown myself into perhaps trying to learn new skills and do new things. My sister, she's not actually on her own, but she's got really into gardening, so she's got really, especially the weather's been quite nice, so she's become quite, you know, quite green fingered, and she's extremely proud of herself that she's got things. So, you know, pushing yourself, learning new skills, perhaps even talking to work about, you know, potentially, is there other things that I could be doing within my job that could open up new opportunities for me, reskilling, you know, throwing your mind into something else. I think that's the problem. I mean, it's you know, it is all about kind of controlling the bad thoughts in your head when you are on your own and you feel quite lonely, don't you? So
yeah, and I guess even if you are okay about going out, seeing your work colleagues socially, like I know a lot of my furlough team and working team have been meeting up at each other's houses or going for a walk. One of my girls, you know, some of my girls have dragged me out for a walk, you know, on a Sunday, and it's been lovely. So you've still got that connection to work colleagues, but just maybe outside of the working day. Yeah. Or do you know, like, even, you know, at this moment, you can even suggest to you, could you reduce to 4 days if you can afford it financially, because they might be grateful of that reduction, but then that maybe gives you a day to do more fun stuff now it's easing up. Or can I take a day holiday a week for, you know, there's things like that, because don't forget, like, the work is less for some industries at the moment. Your boss might appreciate that offer as well, if that helped you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, well, I want to move on really to, you know, because yes, it's been tough, and no one ever is going to deny that fact, that we've all struggled through this in one way or another, and it's, you know, it's therapeutic to hear other people's stories as well. You don't feel quite so alone when you've been through all of these sorts of things. So I think it was quite important for us to talk about that and some of the challenges about their whole. But I want to talk about some of the positives of this now, because it is that, you know, I mean, you and I are both positive people. We're Aquarians. Yeah. So I want to talk about, you know, what pull out some of the positive things that that have happened for you over the past couple of months, and then we can talk about how we're going to translate that into the let's pivot.
Yeah. Story. So do you want personally or
a bit of both? Bit of both. Go for it.
So personally was I went into lockdown with injuries, so couldn't run and things like that. So I've spent time on that, which I probably wouldn't have done because I was always a million miles an hour. That's a good positive. Learned to bake. If you follow me on Instagram, I mean, I've done custard cream and white chocolate blondie today just because I can. So that's been really nice, because that's something I've wanted to do for ages. Always wanted to do yoga and Pilates, never done that because never had the time. So I do that on Zoom a couple of times a week now. That's nice personal things. I think there's been people that have massively surprised me in lockdown that I would call my lockdown heroes, people I wasn't necessarily expected to be so supportive and were, which was fantastic. So there's newfound friendships, which is brilliant. And then on the work side, on just going back to the reflection side of things, I did spend time reflecting on why I felt stuck in treacle, and why I didn't feel I was moving fast, and why did I sit on this strategy for 4 weeks, which is the strategy we've now released. And I thought back, and my sister said something really poignant, and I was like, oh, there's like she's got a video of me like moaning and crying or something, saying, well, I didn't even want a business in the first place, and I didn't expect it to get this big, and I don't know if I want it anymore, and all this. And it just boiled down to the fact, she said, well, you know, she said, you're not going to 100% enjoy your job all the time, but you need to be enjoying it at your level about 70-80%. And I thought about it, again, being honest, the team know this, that the few months before lockdown, I was probably enjoying 40% of it, because I've not had a leadership team, so I've still been doing everything. And and I'd had numerous conversations with a business coach, and I've got a friend who is just doing a leadership course at the moment, and he sat me down and we talked about loads of stuff, and he said, it seems to be like Happy Holly is going to be an asset to business. And I wrote that on my board in the kitchen. I thought, gosh, that makes so much sense. And I thought, what's it going to take for me to be happy? And I thought, having someone running the business, we talked about getting an MD for ages, but I thought it was in the future. And then I thought, for me to fight for this, I need to have a business that I really want to go back to and do what I enjoy. And so I decided, a very bold decision, that we would employ an MD, and it's advertised, so because it's up to the salary, so it's a massive investment. But what it will do is, there's talent in the industry at the moment and other industries. It's the only time in Make Events that I will have time, because this is going to be the only period in the business this 6 months with no live events. And actually, it's got to be worth fighting for. And also, I think it's really positive. Again, being honest, some of the team are like, oh, how have we got some of the team on furlough yet? We're recruiting a managing director. And I was like, well, that's actually really, really positive, because for me to invest that amount of money in a new person must mean that I believe the business is here for the long haul. And so what's become even more apparent now in this whole marketing strategy is I'm working with the marketing team. Ideas they've not flown like this for absolutely years, and they're well, not years, that's over exaggeration, but they're just continual creative ideas. Some are rubbish, some are great, and I think that's because I'm doing what I'm best at the moment, because it is not much business to run, and there's not many people to manage, which I'm not good at. So out of that came the pivot strategy, and the reason that's the overarching, very simple name for our strategy is that's what everyone's talking about. Make Events has always been, we'll do what it says in the tin, we make events, we're pivoting, that's going to be our strategy. And if we're going to pivot, we'll make a big stuff and dance of it. And everyone will know we're pivoting. So, and then we came up with the 4 things that were included under this pivot banner, which we've obviously, we can talk about in more detail, but we've got that going out to social channels. And then also launching the private side of the business, which, Sam, you'll know we've always had, but we've done it very much on the radar, but we believe now is exactly the right time to do that in August. So actually, if I wanted to sum it up, I think I will come out of this with a better business, 100%. We've de-risked ourselves because we've added so much more to the business. And I think, being totally selfish, I will be a happier person, definitely.
Oh, well, you see, that's fantastic, isn't it? And I think that's the way to look at these sorts of things. So, but I do have to challenge you slightly to say...
Oh, go on, Sam.
Only a little. If you do look back on it, is there anything that you would do? So where you are now, I want to talk about the future and the Let's Pivot campaign and everything, and the new strategy going forward and that vision for you. But before we do, is there anything sort of that you would do differently looking back? And it's always easy to look back
in lockdown, or in the last...
no, to be honest, let's do that over the past couple of years, really, maybe.
Well, really, that's actually what I focused on in the last, when I was trying to get my head around everything. I thought, I need to reflect back on, from the start of Make Events, what would I have done differently? And I thought, let's go back over that, because I've got the opportunity to reinvent now. This is like Make Events version 2. Yeah. And simple things like bigger unit where we could make more props and do more hire and dry hire on the decor side, because our unit was quite limited. We've done that during lockdown. Something I've got to do graded. I always say I should have employed talent earlier into the business, people with experience, so hence the MD role. So yeah, I'm trying to look back on all the things that I would have done differently with Make Events, and use this almost like it's almost like round 2, start again, a new version. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that's important, isn't it? And I think that's the businesses that are going to survive this are the ones that are using this opportunity to very much say, okay, what are we good at? Where do we want to be going forward? How do we adopt all of this new digital world that we've all been thrown into and make it work for us as a business, basically? So, and take those people on that journey with you. And it's, it's been a challenge, but it's also, in some ways, it's a great opportunity. a wonderful one. And as I said at the beginning about Pro Manchester, you know, we all predominantly physical events. I always wanted to do more online stuff, but I just didn't have the time or the talent at the time to be able to kind of make that happen. But this forced our hand massively, and the team just switched and adapted and made it fly. And it's fantastic. And like I say, I can't wait for us to all get back in a room together again and to be able to do all of that. But now we've got an additional offer to say, well, you don't have to just use that platform. You can use this one and everything else that we've got going on as well. So,
and your sessions are great. I've been to a few. They're really good content as well. Really good.
You're very kind. Thank you, Paula. So come on then, tell us all about the Let's Pivot and what's happening now in the future for you and Make Events.
So yeah, without like boring people with the detail, but we've got the virtual studio. So we're using a virtual studio to do live virtual events from. So it's basically like producing a TV show. So your content can go out live, but like a TV show. So if you follow all our channels this week, there's loads of explanations and Q&A and video going out about that. Then we've got content studios. We've always had a content studio in terms of providing graphic design, PowerPoint, animation, video photography alongside an event. But now we will offer that standalone. So all our branding is done in-house. So basically, like if you like what we've done with our branding, we can do it for you. So for example, I had a client, Hitachi phoned me a week last Friday. Holly, I've got 30-page PowerPoint deck, hate it. Can you work on it over the weekend for me and get it back to me Sunday midnight? Yeah, absolutely, done, dusted. And she's now referred to like her internal comms. So virtual studio, content studio, Magic Touches. So one of our brand values is Magic Touches, which is the pockets full of wow through every event. It's often the smallest, most tangible things that people pick up and share on social media. We've always done really good corporate gifting to engage people with our brand. So if you come here, we've got a thing over there, we've got like rose gold metallic notebooks, we've got everything's like super cool and it's not heavily branded, so you would want to keep it. So now we would do that for a client. So basically, do you want to engage with a customer or a member of your team through the tangible? We can do that for you. So again, on our social media, you'll have seen the Make Staycation boxes, and there's a video about that. So I won't bore you now. We can share all this content, but how do you engage customers and your team during this time apart from this? And then the fourth one is the units. So basically, we've expanded our prop shop so that we can support venues and smaller events. So if your budget is, you know, obviously pulled back for Christmas or any events, or you're going to have, you know, smaller events for Christmas around and bringing people together, you know, to do, you know, little pockets of private dining, we can do decor and entertainment to suit that, because we've got bigger capabilities now. And then we will be launching, happy practicing, HM events. So HM Events has been going as a separate business for 3 years. It's headed up by another member of the team, Rosie, and that's about luxury events and parties, weddings for private client. And 2 weeks prior to lockdown, we had a brand new website and logo and positioning ready to go, but I pulled back on it, and we're going to be launching that in August. So for anybody that, you know, wants kind of a swanky party or needs a wedding planner or decor for a garden party, Rosie has that side of the business up.
Oh, it sounds fantastic, and you sound extremely excited about it all as well, which is lovely to see. Like you say, you know, you talked about how challenging this has actually been, and to get yourself out of that treacle and get moving. No, it's good to hear. So in thinking about all of those, what would your sort of top tips for advice to others who might still be in that treacle and wanting to work out how they're going to, you know, pivot themselves and do something with the businesses that they're in, or what they can do? And it doesn't necessarily mean to be, and this isn't just focused on the people who are running the businesses.
No.
These are in the businesses as well. What advice would you give to them? You know, could be people who've been in jobs for a long time, and perhaps, you know, maybe it's a realization of, do I want to do this anymore? Do I want to do something else? What are your top tips for people?
The only thing I can say is get still with yourself. So you need to take time to sit on the sofa, go for a walk, sit at your dining room table and think. And I would get a journal and I would just write and write and write. And a good piece of advice I heard once was, I mean, I've journaled for 2.5 years now and kind of replaced meditation with journaling, and I find it so therapeutic. So I just have a lovely journal that I get off Amazon, blank, you know, ruled pages, and I will set that, and I'll set my alarm for an hour, and there might be nothing in my head, but I'll sit there and it will come to me. And you have to sit still and you have to think about what is it, why, what's bothering me, what is it, to get to the root cause. And that is the only way that you'll make the right decision. And then it's about admitting to yourself that maybe I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe I've been so fixated on my salary, it's driven me to make wrong decisions. Maybe I'm doing this for somebody else, not me. And you will get to it, but you've got to spend time with yourself. And also you have to, I'm listening more and more to my gut, and also thinking what is the next right move. And until it feels like the next right move, I won't do it. And I said to the team the other day, because I can imagine they were a little bit frustrated that they knew I was sitting on this strategy and nothing was actually happening. And then I said to them the other day, I said, it was actually exactly the right thing to do. Because obviously if I'd have been ready, we'd have had it out there, but I wasn't. Something was stopping me. And actually now, in the midst of everything, these couple of weeks, and it wasn't a strategic decision, has been the absolute best time to release a strategy, because everyone's looking for hope and they're looking for positivity. So listen, if you don't feel ready, don't do anything, don't move. And I would say that in your personal life as well. It's like, get still with yourself and listen and move when it feels like right from here. Because if you're in doubt, it's somebody telling you it's not quite right yet, or whatever that is.
Yeah, I think that's solid advice there, Hol, because I think we're all so busy all of the time that you never have time to maybe just sit back and just think, actually, do you know what makes me happy and what do I need to do? And then from a running a business perspective, I'm a bit like you, that, you know, I've got ideas, but it tends to fall at the right time. I can't be rushed in these sorts of things, and I kind of tend to have a good feeling about when are the right times to kind of move forward. So, you know, and maybe that's down to us being Aquarians and being quite reflective people, I don't know, but it works for me definitely to just slow right down, not feel guilty about giving myself a little bit more time to have a think about it, and really kind of, you know, take some time out, do some reading. I think the other important thing as well that I would probably like to stress, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, is that you need to ask for help, you know, talk to people. I think actually, you know, and I must have maybe 5 or 6 different mentors from various different walks of life doing various different things, and some of them are friends, some of them are people I've known through work, you know. And I think having those conversations and talking through some of those things that are in my head with people who are objective, who can then give you some good advice, I think that's often quite helpful as well, and helps you with that reflectiveness. We've had another question we had another couple of questions actually, Hol. So if you bear with me. So Mark Taylor, how much of the lost revenue do you believe the new pivot strategy will deliver?
Do you know what? I'm going to be totally honest. I've not really put any figures on it, and that's why I need an MD. So I'm going to work on that in the board meeting. I think for us, it was just, you know, we're working that all out because it's some of the strands of the business we've not done before. So it's like, so we'll do the, we've had an inquiry for like 6,000 of these branded boxes that we'll design for a client, but we've got to, you know, work out the time and everything like that. So I don't think we're going to break even, because don't forget, we're running on a limited team as well. So I'm not bringing somebody in to do sales calls or whatever. So for me, it's about survival at the moment, rather than, it'll sound ridiculous, but a bit more about survival. It's about having some revenue coming in on a lean team, with a product and service that has got longevity. But you know, there's 3 of us contracted. I can't focus on, you know, we can't focus on everything. I think at the moment my main focus is getting the right MD, because I feel like that needs to be the thing that happens next to get us moving in the right way. That probably isn't a great answer, but I'm again just being honest.
No, fine, no problem, thank you. Okay, so from Zoe, then we've got a question for both of us, so I don't mind who wants to go first on this one. But what does success look like for you?
You go first, Sam. I've done loads of talking.
Okay, fine. For me, success is absolutely, it's all down to having a happy workforce. It's getting everybody back into the office when the time is right, but also utilising this working from home and working in an office environment. So actually better work-life balance for my team. So that they're the driving force, and they're the biggest asset of Pro Manchester, 100%. So for me, it's having a happy workforce that we can then, like I say, really strike a really good work-life balance, utilising all the stuff we've learned over the past 3 or 4 months. Delivery on good events, and that's exactly what we're here to do, and making those connections for those businesses. So striving forward and taking all of the positives that we've learned over the past 3 or 4 months and putting that into a further strategy going forward.
So yeah, for me, the ideal would be to come out of this with no borrowing. So I'm not saying that's purely what that looks like, but I feel like I've got a point to prove that the business was started with no borrowing and can get through COVID with no borrowing. I'm not saying that'll happen, but that would be amazing. And I think successfully that these pivots become successful and work. And recruiting MD is like my top goal at the moment, with all my other goals underneath, because I feel like that's what I need to achieve these goals. And then for me, just a bit more happiness in terms of being, how can I put it? You know, I think my life before was, my social life was very much guided by, if I've got a birthday or an occasion, I have a social life, but apart from that, I'll work. And I've enjoyed that, just going for a walk, just baking a cake. And I'd really, really love to maintain that. And I am going to maintain it. My whole mantra for this is less shoulds, more wants. So that's what that would be success for me.
Well, fantastic. So I've got a couple of more questions coming in now. They're coming in thick and fast. So Kelly McCormack, this is one just out of interest. Where is the studio? Is it in the office?
No, it's in a unit near Manchester Airport, which is next to our new unit as well.
Okay, and then another question from Anonymous. So who inspired you during lockdown? Oh, from Sarah, sorry.
Do you know, there's been a few randomers actually. This is really random. A girl called Charlotte Kennedy, who works at Hale Spa, who is always posting what she's up to and walking and doing her steps and things like that, and that really motivated me actually. Oh god, so many people, you know, probably a lot on Instagram actually, that I saw people doing good things. Rachel Hollis, Rachel Hollis, look her up if you don't know her. We went to her live conference, and that was really, really motivating. Do you know what? I tell you, really, I had a lot of, I don't know about you, Sam, but some absolutely lovely messages of people I didn't really know on Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm not saying that I'm losing my whole life, or I am, because I'm living on my own, but you know, just some of the messages that I was sent, like, you're inspiring me, you're doing so well, that honestly meant so much.
Yeah, fantastic. Good stuff. I've been working a lot with the Greater Manchester sort of strategic partners, if you like, and Shona Southern, who's the chief exec of Marketing Manchester. I feel like she's had an incredible amount of weight on her shoulders to be able to deliver. Come back to work safely, come back to Manchester sort of strategy. So the Safe GM campaign, and her team have done an incredible job, I think, without getting those messages out there, working closely with the TFGM, the Transport for Greater Manchester and stuff. And they've developed this whole campaign around find your place and getting people to come back and feel safe about doing that, because we need to revive our hospitality and retail industry massively.
Oh, yeah.
One that's been affected hugely, and their campaign has been really slick. The work that they've done, the amount of stuff that they've sort of thrown themselves into, I've been really, really impressed by. You know, and nobody's wavered. They've just kept plugging away. I bet they're all ready for a holiday, if I'm very honest.
Yeah.
I bet they are exhausted by now, but I've been really impressed by that. And actually, by the Greater Manchester sort of cohort, if you like, they've come together and worked really, really well on this entire campaign. So. Yeah. You know, that's been really inspiring as well, because they want to get people back, they want to get those industries back up and running, and they want to make Manchester as wonderful as it can be. So that would be definitely mine. We've got time for one more quickly, and then I think we better wrap up. So where are we? Often in times of cost control or cutting, staff engagement is challenging. How do you both go about engaging your staff?
So we started off, I think, we started started lockdown with the virtual cocktail party we did live at the House of Make, and we've continued that pretty much every Friday all through lockdown with a theme, and that's been brilliant. We've then done, we've had a WhatsApp group, just banter and bits and bobs that are happening. I've done an email update whenever there's any big news. I've kept my HR lady on, who was freelance anyway, so she's done a welfare call with everybody every month, so that they could talk honestly to her about how they're feeling, and she could update them where we were on furlough and redundancies. We have, so for example, the Make Staycation boxes that you may have seen that we've been sending out to clients, we sent all the team one, but then we did a book. So I got all my WhatsApp photos from the last 3 months of like our Zooms and any selfies we sent each other, like any photos, and did like the journey of lockdown from the last 2 weeks in the office up to now. And it was like make events in lockdown, March to June 2020. And also one of the girls wrote a poem called Making It Through about make events and getting through, and that went in the book. That is basically, you know, this is a moment in time we will remember for the rest of our lives. And I will feel our team has actually got closer through lockdown. There is nowhere to hide in lockdown. You know, we've all got drunk together, we've cried together. I've had to be honest. You know, I think we had to have trust, as I'm sure you have. So we've got to trust your team to work from home and like do a good job. And I think that there is, whatever happens with make events and where everybody's paths go, we will always remember this time. And so I wanted to capture it in this book because I wanted everybody to remember it. And even now they're looking back over the last 3 months, oh, God, remember that. I can't believe you've, you know, done that. So I think over communicate really has been our thing, and still do like the magic touches that we've always done. So yeah.
It sounds like you've done an amazing job of it as well. So well done you. Right, I think, to be honest, we're kind of coming to a bit of a close now. So, you know, we're getting close to 7 o'clock, and I bet people are probably getting hungry or maybe wanting that glass of wine, which I don't blame them for one bit. So I'm going to sort of wrap it up now, Hol. Do you want to, as I mentioned at the beginning, this is the first of a whole week takeover. So do you want to maybe talk about some of the events you've got coming up over the next week?
Yeah, so tomorrow we're doing a pre-record, which is a Q&A at the studio about what a virtual event is, because I think some people still don't know what that means. So that'll be tomorrow. Wednesday Lucy will correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure. Wednesday at 6 is the 5 a.m. club. So myself and another event professional that lives in nothing to do with make events, and Lily Shippen, who owns Lily Shippen PA Recruitment, we started a virtual 5 a.m. club because we were all struggling with routine. I'm not saying 5 a.m. for everyone, and we're happy to challenge that on Wednesday, but we're going to talk about how that's worked for you. I know Lily and Jules personally, but Lily and Juliet have never met, so it's amazing that they've helped each other through lockdown. Thursday, we're talking to internal comms at Auto Trader about how they've engaged their team. A very, very, very interesting story over lockdown. And then Friday, it's either at 4 or 4:30. Lucy will collect me. You have to tune in on IGTV. We're doing a cocktail party, and we're showing you how to make cocktails at home. We've got our staycation decor up, and we'll talk about, show you around the house of make, and that'll be a fun hour. And Emily, actually, I don't think she knows she's doing this yet, but Emily has been, because we're obviously big wine and foodies at make events, because that makes up an event. Emily in lockdown has been doing reports on all Aldi wines, which I believe she tells me the organic Prosecco you don't get a hangover with. So she's going to do a little wino report for everybody on what to buy in Aldi for your wine collection, which is meant to be amazing. Yeah, and then there'll be other bits of content like pre-recorded that are going out every day. We've got our own gifts today. I think I said that at the beginning before anybody came on. So if you search make events with no gap in gifts, there's like a rainbow and anything is possible gift. Please use them if you're sharing anything about it tonight, because we all feel like we've made it now, we've got gifts. I was just going to say, I don't know how many of the questions Lucy will be able to pull up that we haven't answered, but anyone can email me at holly@makeevents.co.uk, and I'd be super happy to answer anything that hasn't got answered, or that potentially you didn't feel comfortable sharing on here. I can't say I'll reply straight away, but we'll do my best.
I think I managed to get through the ones that were asked now, but like you say, if anyone would prefer to ask anything,
yeah, exactly, yeah,
then please do go for that. So I think that kind of wraps us up, really. I just want to say thanks, Hol, for inviting me to take part in this and do a little interview.
Who would have thought when we met in that lift in Lycra, Sam, we'd be speaking on Zoom in a global pandemic. We've come so far.
I know, it just goes to show the twists and turns of life, Holly.
Yeah.
All good, but yeah, it's great to see you. It's great to have a chat to you, and I hope everyone's enjoyed it as well. So thank you to all for all of you that joined us. It's great to see you all here. So have a lovely rest of week. Obviously, join Holly on the rest of that program as well, if you can do, because I'm sure that will be great. But have a lovely evening, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Sam. You're a superstar.
Take care.